Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about the Jausten Repulse. All right. Now, I'm talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons has a Gleard problem. The vast majority of dungeon masters are Gleards. They are people who have beards and wear glasses, right? And they're Gleards. And the fact that the majority of them are Gleards is an issue of diversity. We have not diversified our community in 43 years, and we have truly, truly stagnated in the people who are playing this game. Now, the most valuable group that we have lost are the Jaustens, Jane Austen fans. Jane Austen fans are perfect dungeon masters. They're highly literate, right? They read a lot. They write poetry, they write fiction, they write letters, they write thank you cards. Jaustens write, okay? And so, honestly, Jaustens are awesome. They would be awesome to be dungeon masters, and we have virtually no Jaustens in our community. You are very, very hard pressed to find a Jausten in the dungeon master community, right? So what that means is that we need to fix this, right? And the reason why we need to fix this is there are millions of Jaustens. I'm talking millions of them. Jane Austen fans number at least 20 million. I think they could easily be like 80 million, right? That's a huge number. And that's just in America, right? It's massive, right? And we have repulsed the entire community of Jaustens. I would say 99% of them. I think 1% of Jaustens are dungeon masters, and we should have 75% of them as dungeon masters, and we desperately need them in our community. All right. So I was thinking about it. I was like, why? What is the Jausten Repulse, right? How have we repulsed Jaustens from our community and filled it with a bunch of Gleards, right? And I realized how we did it. I know exactly how we did it. It has to do with player character state, okay? There is player character state. Every player character has a state, okay? They have multiple states, right? Well, in Dungeons and Dragons, we are incredibly aware of the physical state of the player character, down literally to the point, okay? So if your player character has 37 hit points, we know exactly how many hit points he has at every moment of the game. Excuse me. We also know his condition. Is he fatigued? Is she fatigued? Is she paralyzed? Is she incapacitated? Is she stunned, right? There's no less than like 8 different conditions, right? So we know down to the point exactly how many hit points, what is virtually to the percentage number of what the hit points, the health factors of our player characters are. We know exactly what their condition is, right? And we can even layer multiple conditions on. But that's where it ends. Here are all the other states that we as a community have never built into the game in 5 editions. We have never touched any of the rest of the states, right? So what are the other states of our player characters? Well, they have an emotional state. They have an intellectual state. They have a spiritual state. They have a social state, and they have a cultural state, okay? And I was just thinking about that today, and we have absolutely no ability to deal with these states in the game, not even rudimentarily, right? It's completely up to the point of the player. The game master can get in there, but it's completely untouched, right? And actually, if you read a Jane Austen novel, if you read Pride and Prejudice, right, you will see that she knows to the point the emotional state. She knows what conditions are on the emotional state of every character in her book. She knows what their intellectual state is. She knows what their spiritual state is. She knows what their societal state is. And oh man, does she have conditions on societal states. She knows what their cultural state is. She has layered characters that has equal depth on every single one of those states for her characters. And for her physical character of the play, for the physical parts of her characters, she knows that physical state, right? And she communicates that in the book, Jane Austen. But that's why we failed. That's how we repulsed the Jaustens. And this group who are perfect dungeon masters, this is where we lost them, right? And I think this is how we can get them back, is we fix this. We build into Dungeons and Dragons the ability to apply, to know at the point level and the condition level, the emotional state, the intellectual state, the spiritual state, the societal state, and the cultural state of every player character. And I think if we do that, we bring the Jaustens in, right? And I was thinking about there's a, you know, and that's exciting to me. That's really, really exciting, right? Now, what will this give us in Dungeons and Dragons? It'll give us a new form of combat, right? It'll give us a new ability, right? A new form of combat that we've never talked about before, right? And if you read Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, you will see emotional combat. I'm thinking about the Jaustens. I'm thinking about Jane Austen's work, and I remember what I read in Pride and Prejudice. There's this staggering moment, right, in the book. It was my favorite part of Pride and Prejudice, where Elizabeth goes out on a picnic, and Darcy is there, okay? And all the women are talking, and there's some men there. They're all lounging. They're in the sun, right? And there's this woman who just keeps nattering on, just like talk. She doesn't really be quiet. She just keeps yammering on, right? And she actually makes a remark where she says, "Oh, but I talk too much," right? And at that point, Elizabeth says this cutting remark to her, right? Now, it's a cutting remark with her cutting tongue, but there, of course, is there's no bloodshed, right? But there might as well have been, right? Because Elizabeth delivers this off-the-cuff, super intelligent, so subtle that if you weren't paying attention, you missed it, right? Like, comment to the woman, saying something like, "Yeah, if your words could feed us, I think, our picnic basket would be filled again," or so. It's something like that. I can't even remember what the exact insult was, but it was really, really clever, and it was very cutting. And the woman caught that she had been insulted, and everyone just laughed and had a good laugh, right? But not a laugh in a cruel manner, just like, "Oh, how clever is Elizabeth," right? Well, Darcy comes right back at Elizabeth, and Darcy is he's a guy who's he's not wooing Elizabeth, and then he is wooing Elizabeth. It's a whole thing, right? But Darcy at this point is not in a paramour relationship with her, right? And they're not together. And he says, "Oh, Elizabeth, that was very unclassy, very unclassy." And Elizabeth's like, "What? We're all just sparring. Everybody was, throwing jabs around, verbal jabs around." And he said, "You know what? You are a respected lady of society. You're a cultured woman, right? That woman over there, she was at the picnic at somebody else's good graces. She's lower than you in society, right? From not lower like a lower class of human, but lower like she doesn't have the esteem you have, right?" And it was just like, that is emotional combat, right? That is societal combat. It's cultural combat in one scene, right? And it was brilliant, right? And we don't have anything like it in Dungeons and Dragons, and we need it. We desperately need it, right? We can quadruple or increase the number of Dungeons and Dragons by a factor of 10 if we can know the emotional, the intellectual, the spiritual, the societal, the cultural state of our player characters at the exact same detail as the physical state of our player characters. The Jaustens are out there. They are the lifeblood of our game now, right? We have enough cleareds. We packed our community with cleareds. We're done with cleareds. We have them. We don't need to do anything to keep them, right? We need to attract new players. We need to make this game, we need to get to the Jausten convergence, where Gleards and Jaustens are dungeon mastering at the same equal level. The number is equal. That's where we need to go. The Jausten convergence. And when we reach the Jausten convergence, we will have a richer, better game. And I am convinced that with the time we have, we can get there for Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. The Jausten convergence can happen with 6th edition. I know we can get there. I think Mike Mearls is part of it. I don't know what's going to happen in the years to come, right? But I know there's a path to get to the Jausten convergence. Thank you.